In this set of slides, we look at market-related exposures. So when constructing the investment benchmark for the pension liability, we have two types of participants: inactive participants and future participants. So inactive participants are where benefits attributable to the participants currently receiving pension payments, like retirees, or participants who are no longer working for the firm and are owed a benefit, but have not yet started receiving benefit payments, so we call them deferreds. The estimated benefit payments to this group are fixed in a market-related sense, unless they are indexed with inflation in order to protect the retiree's standard of living. Thus, without inflation indexing, the portfolio of assets that best mimic such a liability is a bond portfolio, whose cash flows match the estimated benefit payment. If the benefit payments are indexed with inflation, the benefit payments and thus the value of the liability will vary with the level of inflation. In this case, the investment benchmark is a mixture of real rate bonds and nominal bonds. For future participants, the fully expanded definition of the liability includes the estimated benefits attributable to future new entrants. For a plan closed to new entrants, this liability is zero. And for an ongoing plan, this portion of the liability is rarely funded to any extent. Thus, they are excluded. And we have active participants. So active participants are currently active employees. They're categorized into benefits attributable to past service rendered and wages earned, i.e. accrued benefits, and benefits attributable to future service and wages, future benefits. Accrued benefits are attributable to past service rendered and wages earned. Like inactive benefits, they are fixed in a market-related sense, unless they are indexed with inflation in order to protect the participant's standard of living. The present value of these benefits plus the inactive benefits represents the plan's liability attributable to accrued benefits. Future benefits are benefits attributable to future wages to be earned, future service to be rendered, and future new entrants to the plan. The extent to which these benefits are funded, and therefore at risk of becoming unfunded, and capital market driven, so they're hedgeable, they need to be considered today when determining the investment benchmark. They will dominate the liability for the next 20 years. They'll dominate the liability in 20 years. Future wages. So we assume a certain rate of future wage increases, and the actuary provides an estimate of the benefit payments attributable to future wage increases. Forecast future wage inflation and real wage growth are used to estimate the liability. Future wage inflation. There is a long-term relationship between general inflation and wage inflation. Thus, cash flows of real rate bonds will vary similarly to the variations in the estimated benefit payments attributable to future wage inflation. If after retirement the benefits are fixed and no longer exposed to changes in inflation, the investment benchmark is a combination of real rate bonds and nominal bonds. Future real wage growth. So real wage growth is linked to economic growth through labor's share of the productivity increases. Real wage growth benefits for each active employee are only exposed to real wages until retirement. After retirement, these benefit payments are fixed and no longer exposed to changes in growth. As a result, a combination of equities and nominal bonds will be the investment benchmark. Future service rendered. Just like the volatility of future wage benefits, the volatility of future service benefits is linked to wage growth. As wages grow, the service accruals granted will be based on higher wages, and thus the corresponding benefit payment will be higher. But in reality, this portion of the liabilities is often not included in the funding target and relatively uncertain. Hence, we exclude it. This graph shows you the estimated payment liabilities. So the top one is future service liabilities, It peaks around 30 years, 25 to 30 years. The next one is future real wage growth, future wage inflation, active accrued, monies owing, deferreds, and retirees. And the market-related exposures summary. The portion of the investment benchmark, we have the inactive participants. The market-related exposure is the term structure. That's the length of time. The liability mimicking asset is nominal bonds. For active accrued participants, the market-related exposure is the term structure. Again, the length of time. Liability mimicking asset is nominal bonds. And for active participants and their future wages, the market-related exposures are to inflation, to growth, and to the term structure, the length of time. And the liability mimicking assets are real rate bonds for inflation, equities for growth, and nominal bonds for the term structure.